ततो जयमुदीरये नष्टप्रायेष भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भक्ति नैष्ठिकी भूतानां छिद्रदातृत्वं बहिरन्तरमेव च प्राणेन्द्रियात्माधिष्णत्वं नभसो वृत्तिलक्षणम् भूतानां छिद्रदातृत्वं बहिरन्तरमेव च प्राणेन्द्रियात्मधिष्णत्वं नभसो वृत्तिलक्षणम् भूतानां छिद्रदातृत्वं बहिरन्तरमेव च प्राणेन्द्रियात्मधिष्णत्वं नभसो वृत्तिलक्षणम् भूतानां छिद्रदातृत्वं बहिरन्तरमेव च प्राणेन्द्रियात्मधिष्णत्वं नभसो वृत्तिलक्षणम्
Bhutanam Chidradhatritvam Bhairantaramevacha Pranendriyatmadishnatvam Navaso Vrittilakshanam Bhutanam Chidradhatritvam Bhairantaramevacha Pranendriyatmadishnatvam Navaso Vrittilakshanam
Bhutanam Chidradhatritvam Bhairantaramevacha Pranendriyatmadishnatvam Navaso Vrittilakshanam
Bhutatma Chidradhatritvam Bhairantaramevacha Pranendriyatmadishnatvam Navasa Vrittilakshanam
Bhutana of all living entities. Chidradhatritvam, the accommodation of room. Bahihi, external. Antaram, internal. Eva, also. Cha, and. Prana of the vital air, Indriya, the senses, Atma and the mind, Vishnatvam being the field of activities, Nabasaha of the ethereal element, Vritti activities, Lakshanam characteristics. The activities and characteristics of the ethereal element can be observed as the accommodation of the room for the external and internal existence of living entities, namely the field of activities of the vital air, the senses, and the mind. The activities and characteristics of the ethereal element can be observed as accommodation of room for the external and internal existences of all living entities, namely the field of activities of the vital air, the senses, and the mind. Yes, Nirada Matati, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Purport Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. The mind, the senses and the vital force or living entity have forms, although they are not visible to the naked eye. Form rests in subtle existence in the sky, and internally it is perceived as the veins within the body and the circulation of the vital air. Externally, there are invisible forms of sense objects. The production of the invisible sense objects in the external activity of the ethereal element and the circulation of vital air and blood is its internal activity. That subtle forms exist in the ether has been proven by modern science by transmission of television, by which forms or photographs of one place are transmitted to another place by the action of the ethereal element. That is very nicely explained here. This verse is the potential basis of great scientific research work, for it explains how subtle forms are generated from the ethereal element, what their characteristics and actions are, and how the tangible elements, namely air, fire, water, and earth, are manifested from the subtle form. Mental activities or psychological actions of thinking, feeling, and willing are also activities on the platform of ethereal existence. The statement in Bhagavad Gita that the mental situation at the time of death is the basis of the next birth is also corroborated in this verse. Mental existence transforms into tangible form as soon as there is an opportunity due to the contamination or development of the gross elements from the subtle form.
Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisheshaya Shunyavadi Pashyata Deshatarine Jayo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Bhutanam Chitradhatitvam Mahirantaram Cha Pranendriyatma Deshnatvam Navaso Vritti Lakshanam. The activities and characteristics of the ethereal element can be observed as accommodation of the room for the external and internal existence of the living entity, namely the field of activities of the vital air, the senses, and the mind. So, So the topic today is subtle and gross existence. There is some Sankhya here, but it is difficult to analyze much because there is talk of the ether, and in modern science, we don't even know what is ether. Earth we know, which is perceived by all the five senses. Water we know, which is perceived by four senses. Water doesn't have gandha, smell. Earth, water, fire. Fire is perceived by three senses, because fire you cannot taste also, you cannot smell also. Air is perceived by two senses. You can touch and you can hear, but you cannot see, you cannot smell pure air, and neither you can taste air. You cannot do. And then ether is perceived by only one sense, here. You cannot feel it. Now that's what the Vedas say, but ether is an element. Ether is not vacuum. Now in modern science, classical physics, the understanding of ether is vacuum. They say ether, vacuum, in which the light can pass. But the Vedas, the understanding of ether is different. Kham. Bhumi, apo, anulo, vayu, kham. Kham is an element. Now science keeps changing, and quantum physics, which is not classical physics, it is established that there is no vacuum. There is something, and they have experiments to prove it. Those who want, our students of physics can check it. Quantum physics has their own experiments, and with their concluded that there is no vacuum. Srila Prabhupada, being a liberated soul, said many times, there is no vacuum in the kingdom of God. There is something. What is that thing? Ether is not understood by all of us who have been trained in the modern physics. Vedic physics is different. Ether exists. There is something. Kham, akash, space. So generally we think space is something empty. No, space itself is some element. And in that space, both gross and subtle forms exist. Gross forms and subtle form both need space to exist. Gross forms, we are there. That's why it is saying that grossly we can see existence in ether of the veins and the prana. And the subtle forms in ether are different. A different kind of desires, subtle mind. The senses. Now what we see, the gross sense, but there is a subtle sense of I. This only covers it. Okay. Now, Srila Prabhupada says that this discussion here is a great field for scientific research. Please note it. He's trying to combine modern science with Vedic science. He says, please. And for science, it's a big thing to understand these things, subtle senses, subtle mind. To this day, the science is not able to separate mind and the brain. Forget about even ever understanding the soul. For trillions of years, they cannot understand the source. They're not able to differentiate conclusively that brain is different, mind is different to this day. 300 years of research. But we had very clear knowledge from Bhagavad Gita. Indriyani parani ahu indriyaba paramam manaha. This subtle senses, beyond that is mind. Manasusu parabuddhe, beyond even the mind is more subtler, the intelligence which controls the mind. Yo buddhe parasasu saha, and beyond intelligence is the soul. Like all of you remember the example of the chariot. The horses represent the senses, the rope represents the mind, intelligence is the driver, and the passenger is the soul, experiencer. But in modern science, it doesn't exist. It's just one lump. And then when somebody is sick, somebody is disturbed, in the modern science, what do? We give them some medicines, psychotic drugs and depressants, as psychiatrists do. And then there is the next level. So, but it doesn't work. I'm not seen it to work, except somebody is about to commit suicide, they just give a heavy sedatives. They just like that. That's not. I've not seen it effective in making somebody happy. Just by taking tablets, they feel somebody is sad. We give a tablet, he'll become happy. Because for them, the mind doesn't exist, soul doesn't exist, just the brain. And the happiness is only stage of the brain. Some chemical reaction will change it. But actually, we know happiness is not the state of the brain. Happiness is the state of the mind. We say that, no? What is happiness? It's a stage of the mind. Do we say or not? Always people say that. So therefore, the subtle, we all know therefore, now the mind is subtle. And this mind is different from the body. And actually, it is more important than the body. Just like you make somebody a friend, actually, we're not seeing his face. We make somebody a friend because of the mind. Mind is more important. And we are also not conscious of our face. We are always, we'll all live in the mind, not in the form. Correct? When somebody gives a mirror to you, or I can see my face in the screen, okay, I see look like that. But actually, we do not live in the physical form. We are always living in the mental form, isn't it? Mind is disturbed today, we are more bothered about that. When the body gives an interruption, yes, some pain is there, you become distracted. Otherwise, we are more living in the mind. True? Now, the mind is full of desires, sankalpa, vikalpa, like, dislikes. I like this, I don't like this. That is the nature of the mind. That's what discussed some time ago. Now, why the mind is important? Because your happiness depends on the stage of the mind. But the stage of the mind can be changed into Krishna consciousness. And then the mind becomes happy. Until that time, mind accepts, rejects millions of things, but it never becomes happy. Therefore, Krishna says, mana mana. From the mind, you think about me. Because you have a freedom. Just like I have a freedom. Pick up this mobile now. This is my freedom. I can hold what I want to hold. That freedom I have. So you can say, Prabhu, hold your mind. Hold your mobile. Because I can hold the mobile now. Right? Similarly, you can hold your mind. You can think about Krishna. Nobody is stopping you. But it is not easy. Therefore, Arjuna, when Krishna says Ashtanga Yoga process, and Krishna says to Arjuna, Machitaha, Madhikataha, always think about me in Ashtanga Yoga. Madhikataha, make me the goal of your life. Samstam, make destination to come back to Vaikuntha. When he's telling that, Arjuna says, Krishna, I cannot do. Why? Chanchalai mana Krishna. So Krishna consciousness is a very simple instruction for the mind. What is that? Think about Krishna. And actually that is true. Whenever you see a great spiritualist, what do you think? He's always in love with Krishna. Right? But we forget that we are also wearing dress of a sadhu. We are supposed to think about Krishna. Bhayam dutiya anuveshita shat. And if you think of anything other than Krishna, fearful condition is going to come to you tomorrow. Bhayam dutiya. The moment you think of anything other than Krishna, fearful condition will come. Some dangerous thing will happen. Krishna bhuliya jiva bhoga vajja kare. You forget Krishna and desire sense enjoyment. Chapatiya maya, maya catches. And then maya aprita jnana, mind is lost. So actually, whole spiritual life becomes waste if there is no effort to control the mind. Spiritual life is only successful when you're trying to control also the mind. Therefore, we are given two instructions. Always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. Always remember Krishna is actually the sadhana time. Sadhana time, we are trying to fix our mind on Krishna with force. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. We are worshipping Krishna, we are chanting Hare Krishna, we are hearing about Krishna. We are by force engaging the mind in Krishna. And never forget Krishna the rest of the day. Don't indulge in any sinful activity. And as far as possible, engage the mind in service to Krishna. The both instruction go together. So whole Krishna consciousness is actually the advancement means for whether in the mind the taste has developed towards Krishna, whether attraction has developed about Krishna, that shows the development of Krishna consciousness. Jnana, Vairagya. The jnana is not external, it is in the mind. Vairagya is not external, again it is in the mind, internally. And whether Krishna, Bhakti Pareshanubhava Virakti Anyatra Syat. So when we are developing in bhakti, the mind experiences Paresh Anubhava, spiritual happiness. True, actual experience of the soul, my mind also feels it. That's why when he started chanting Hare Krishna, we get stunned. Ye maja kyun aa raha hai? And the mind is shocked. Intelligence is shocked. Our material mind and logic intelligence cannot understand anything. And we just surrender. So sweet it is. Bhakti Pareshanubhava Virakti Anyatra Sat. It's all happening in the mind. Virakti, detachment for sense gratification. That is called, now I'm advancing in spiritual life. And as it increases our attraction towards Krishna, then finally one day we see Krishna face to face. That attraction increases, that leads to Saddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivritti, Nishtha, Ruchi, Bhava, Nishtha, Ruchi, Asakti, Bhava, Prema. That nothing but increase of attraction towards Krishna, increasing. And as attraction is increasing, our Virakti is also increasing. Recently we had gone to meet Bhurijan Prabhu. So we were asking his wife that you are practicing Krishna conscious 50 years. Tell us what keeps you going in this. He said, for me, it is my beautiful Shaligram, which I worship, that is positive. Hearing Krishna consciousness, that is positive. Everything rest is so horrible. It's a sign of advancement. Correct? We should say everything rest is so horrible. Correct? Not that, struggle in the mind. That is in the beginning stages. But as we advance, you tell, why do you chant Hare Krishna? Everything rest is horrible. That is not easy. Because everything rest also in the neophyte stages looks very attractive. And as a sadhana, we have to come out of it. Just like you switch on a TV, you cannot switch it off. It is so attractive. But the day you say, it's horrible. Every channel is horrible. Now you're advancing. But in the beginning stages, because this stage is not there, we have to forcefully keep senses away from sense objects. Or by force, we have to keep. Because just like an addict, somebody got addicted to liquor, somebody got addicted to anything, we have to forcefully keep that element away from him, because the moment it touches it, he becomes disturbed. Okay? Bhakti Pareshanubhava Virakti Anyatyasa. Then develop detachment for any kind of enjoyment. So it's very important we develop this sense of advancement. And then we can hide, just like when a boy and a girl get married. They hide. Suppose in my body, there is an injury. Okay? And I want to impress a girl. I'll hide it. I'll cover it. Correct? There is a scar. We'll hide. But when they get married, they will see, yes, he was hiding. He has a big boil hair. Correct? So similarly, the mind also has positive and negative elements, everybody. So we hide that when we are trying to impress somebody. But when we live with somebody, we can actually see his weaknesses also. That's becoming familiar. He has positive elements and also the negative elements. Oh, and is that so? That's true. But you cannot hide from Krishna. Anything. You cannot hide anything from Krishna. So why is it important that the mind should be totally purified? Because Krishna will give you next body based on that. If in the mind there is the slightest desire for Krishna, for sense gratification, and Krishna notices this, he'll not give you place in the spiritual world. 100% marks you need to go to the spiritual world. There should be total virakti and vairagya from this world. If there is even slight hope that I can become happy in the material world, Krishna will say, better you stay here. Right? If there is, because you will disturbance in the spiritual world. Suppose some people say that I want to go to the spiritual world. It's all in the mind. If the mind is pure, you will be very ecstatic in the spiritual world. We are hearing Chaitanya Charitamrita, one devotee of Vakreshwara. Vakreshwara. Yesterday we were hearing, there was one devotee, Vakreshwara. He was so ecstatic that even a Nindaka, I don't know who remembers the name, Atul Krishna Prabhu was telling. I recommend all of you, Sunday, please attend Chaitanya Charitamrita class. We're getting a special guest. So Vakreshwara was ecstatically dancing. So when we hear that, think, can I dance? He danced once for 72 hours. Even Haridas Thakur Leela, he was continuously dancing from beginning to the end for hours and hours. He was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to really watch him dance. Nityananda Prabhu, Vakreshwara, these are all the dances. They're not artificial. Like we have in marriage. They'll play drums and everybody dances. That's artificial. That is no meaning. That is just because of beat we are dancing. But these devotees are dancing in actually ecstasy, tremendous ecstasy, love of Krishna. So we also feel, those who are becoming old, it's more and more difficult to dance. Little we dance, then some pain here, some pain there. But still, in the heart, don't you feel? We like to dance for hours like Vakreshwara. But we are not able to dance because mind is not pure. Mind is not pure. And that is a difficulty. So the mind is actually an obstacle for spiritual advancement. And this mind can also be a great instrument to help us advance the spiritual life, provided the mind is trained. A trained mind is a great friend. An untrained mind is the greatest enemy. So in this element, therefore, the subtle element is very important. Left to us, therefore, what kind of thoughts we cultivate. Everything is cultivated in this world. In the agriculture field, you cultivate so many things. And in the beginning stages, the plant is cultivated, say coconut tree you put, Mangalore is coconut. In the beginning stages, you can uproot it. No difficult. You can easily take it out and throw it away. Like if once you become a coconut tree, the roots go so down, you cannot pull it. You need help. So similarly, in the beginning stages, any unwanted desire, you can yourself uproot it. But once it is established deep, you need help. You cannot uproot it on your own. And the Harinama is a help for you. We made a mistake and we allowed unwanted desires to cultivate. Cultivation is done. Just like a normal tree is cultivated about putting water. We cultivate sense gratification by continuously contemplating on it. And Maya gives a reason to contemplate. And we keep contemplating like a fool. And then the tree becomes big and everything is lost. Instead of that, cultivating these desires and trees of sense gratification, we can cultivate Krishna Bhakti. And all this cultivation is happening in the mind. Just like there is the agriculture field. You can cultivate so many things on it, correct? And take the fruits. So similarly, in the mind, We can cultivate Jnana Bija, the subtle word. Prabhupada is talking about the subtle word ether. Similarly, the mind, subtle. You can cultivate in the mind Jnana Bija, Karma Bija, and Bhakti Lata Bija. Mostly we cultivate Karma Bija. If I work hard, I'll be very successful, I'll be very famous. This is Karma Bija. I'll become rich. This is all Karma Bija. Because at the end, there is a selfish fruit for oneself. Then there is Jnana Bija. Also, it is cultivated. I'll become a very knowledgeable man. I'll know everything. And I'll become famous. It's all I. But there is Bhakti Lata Bija, which is different, which is talking about the satisfaction of the Lord, which is totally different. Where I is there, but dovetailed in service to Krishna. No selfish I here. So all the kind of spiritual practices we have in the world today, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, all this yoga, the focus is my own personal enjoyment. Karma Yoga, I'm doing hard work, but at the end, even though it is dovetailed to Krishna, some pride is there, some personal profit is there. It's not Bhakti Yoga. Jnana Yoga, I'm trying to study something, or again about Krishna, because yoga is there, but still there is some kind of speculation and pride about the knowledge which I got. And then there is, so we are actually in these stages, none of us are in Bhakti Yoga stage. We are all in Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga stage. Correct? When you recite a shloka, don't we think, how nice I'm remembering? See. This is Jnana Yoga. Bhakti Yoga has to be distinguished from Karma Yoga. Is the only distinction is there is no fruit in Bhakti Yoga for personal self. When there is a fruit, see, I'm a great hardworking man, I'm a great engineer, I'm working so much, I give some dakshina to temple. But there's a pride about being a great engineer, and there is attraction to the salary that I get, then it is Karma Yoga, not Bhakti Yoga. Jnana Yoga, there is cultivation of knowledge, and I'm a very knowledgeable man. I know so many shlokas, but there is some satisfaction. There is some satisfaction of having known and some selfish satisfaction. Therefore, it is not Bhakti Yoga. Pure Bhakti Yoga is beyond the cultivation of karma and jnana. Okay? It's beyond all cultivation. So karma bija and jnana bija are still prominent when we are cultivating karma yoga, jnana yoga, ashtanga yoga. But bhakti yoga is so sweet that you have to remove karma bija plant and jnana bija plant. Therefore says, Anyabhilasita shunyam jnana karmadi anavritam. The definition of pure bhakti is Anya abhilashita shunyam. There is no other abhilasha, and we are free from karma and jnana bijas. What? That is Shuddha Bhakti. And yet that gives total satisfaction to the soul. Person is, because these are actually weeds. Apparently they make us happy, but they don't make only Bhakti Lata. Bhakti makes the heart totally happy. And only Bhakti satisfies the Lord. Savai pumsa parodharma yata bhakti adhokshaje. That is Shuddha Bhakti. That is for the pleasure of the Lord. Now, instead of cultivating karma bija and jnana bija in the mind, in the heart, we have to cultivate Bhakti Lata bija. And that is what we get from association only of a pure devotee. Brahmana brahmite kona bhagyavan jeev Guru Krishna prasade paye Bhakti Lata bija. Just like when Prahlad Maharaj was a small child, he was very advanced devotee by association of Narada. So he got the Bhakti Lata bija from the heart of Narada, even when in the womb of his mother. So he's a very, very advanced devotee. Actually, he's already advanced. The further the plant keeps advancing. Birth after birth, the Bhakti Lata bija continues. Whatever you have achieved in this life, material things, they disappear. You lose. Your pride, I am a very rich person, I am a great engineer, it's all gone. Next life, you are uneducated. Jnana bija is also, I am a very knowledgeable man, but then again, we are zero. Karma bija, jnana bija goes, but bhakti lata bija is particularly important because birth after birth. Karma bija, jnana bija also, anything goes to the mind will remain birth after birth. But bhakti lata bija is the real asset. If he goes to next life, we can continue to cultivate this bhakti lata bija. That attraction will be there. The desire to serve Krishna, that is bhakti lata bija, will keep enhancing. And the pleasure of that will be more and more within the heart. The person is happy within. Therefore, when a Sthita Prajna definition is there, what it says, Prajahati yada kaman sarva partha manogatan atmani evatmana tushta Sthita Prajna sochate. All this karma jnana bija he has given up. And bhakti lata bija, atme evatmana tushtaha, it takes pleasure in advancement of bhakti. So the bhakti is a real energy of the living entity. The soul becomes totally in joy in service to Krishna. Today we have understood that we are not body, we are spirit, soul. That's the beginning of spiritual life. But then what is the need of the soul? Bhakti. It wants bhakti to the Lord. And it becomes so happy and satisfied in this devotion to the Lord. This has to be therefore carefully, intelligently cultivated in the mind. And we have to keep throwing out the weeds of karma bija, jnana bija. Now it is very difficult to actually identify the weeds in the mind. Very difficult. Because only an expert farmer can distinguish between the weed and the plant. So at least very introspectively we should watch out. Any activity we are doing, was there any selfish intent, or the activity was just done for the pleasure of Krishna? And when Krishna arranges to be seen that actually I had a personal profit in this, then remove it. Because that weed will choke the growth of bhakti. So in this way, today we got some knowledge about the mind. The whole spiritual life is actually focused because through mind only we can go to the soul. Why? The attachment to body is very difficult to remove. Identification of the body is very difficult to remove, but very, very difficult to remove identification with the mind. It is totally lumped together. So therefore, difficult to separate body and the mind can be separated because body is visible. Mind subtle, it's not visible. It's very difficult. In fact, most of the spiritualists think mind is the soul. No, mind is different, soul is different. Therefore, by satisfaction of the mental desires, prajati yada kaman sarva partha manogatan, mind develop different kind of hallucinations. And if we keep working for satisfying that, we know I'm cheated. So an intelligent person disidentifies with the mind and he understands the mind is cheating him. So spiritual advancement starts when we start losing trust in the mind. In the beginning of normal life, everybody is very attached to his own ideas of the mind. And they totally trust the mind. But actually, as we advance spiritually, we lose trust in the mind. And that is called surrender. Surrender means I accept what Acharya says more than what I feel. Acharya says, you have to do these things. Just like Prabhupada says, beginning of spiritual life is follow 4 regulative principles and chant Hare Krishna, 16 rounds. But the mind doesn't feel it is important. That is called surrender. Now, I accept the instruction of Acharya more than my mind. That is called complete surrender. Please guide me, my Lord. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Like Arjuna is saying, Arjuna in the first chapter is playing around with his mind. He's speaking his mind out. He, what do you say? Talk the mind. He's not hiding. He's just revealing his mind. I don't know what he calls talking. Thinking aloud. Thinking aloud. See, what is important about Arjuna is that he's genuine. Not that he's thinking something and speaking something. No. Thinking aloud. He's speaking aloud. So he's revealing his mind, I should not fight and blah, 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 blah. Then he understands that actually I'm not happy. So similarly, we also know 20 years, 30 years, 50 years, 60 years, 70 years, we have actually been listening to the mind. Kamadina, Katina Katita Palita Durunadesha, famous shloka again. I've been just following all the directions of the mind. One Prabodhananda Saraswati, a great acharya, is reflecting. Kamadinam, Katina Katita Palita Durunadesha, this mind only gave me kama, krodha, all this kind of thing, correct? These are the things coming in the mind. I'm cultivating and there are fruits coming out. And then I'm harvesting all this only in the mind. This field, only harvest is kama, krodha and all coming out. These are kind of fruits coming out. Kamida, kamadina, katita, katita, palita, durnidesha. And I followed all the directions of the mind. Tesham, but what was the result of me becoming servant of the mind? Tesham jatamaina karunana trapana upashanti. But following the mind, I did not get any mercy. The mind was merciless. It made me do so many things I should not have done. Karunana, shameless. My mind, if the mind is put to some TV, we will be in a great trouble. Suppose they're trying, Elon Musk is trying to put some sensor inside the brain and then connect it to the computer, Wi-Fi. Suppose it succeeds, we are in great trouble. You say, Swamiji, you are wearing dress of sadhu and this is all you are thinking. The mind is very dangerous. So, Karunata Tarapa, shameless condition. Sometimes activities happen. Activity is only from the mind. So it shows what kind of person he is, what he is thinking. Just like when Nityananda Swami, when he was caught in some activities and videos came out, people were crying. So he had millions of followers. So it is very difficult. Now for him also, it's very difficult. Way to hide the face. Karuna, na upashanti. Okay, I do mercy. Mind asks me to do activities mercilessly and shamelessly, but it never satisfied. Now, so many of you are working, I think now getting ready to run to the job. So, what do you feel? Suppose you're working in a job, and the boss makes you work mercilessly, 20 hours a day. Your whole body is paining. Karuna, no mercy, no shame. Makes you do all illegal activities, black money, all kinds of money. What happened? How come somebody got control? Karuna, somebody is getting ready to go now. Karuna, natarapna upashanti. So boss is making you work mercilessly, trapa, without shame. Now, and he's never satisfied. You work 20 hours, he makes you do all illegal activities, and on the top of it, he's never satisfied. What do you think? You'll resign. So it says, Usrijyetan, my dear mind, after that concludes, get lost. So we have to, I don't know who saw me in my mind that video, we have to get up and give a tight slap to the mind. Shut up. And that day you start advancing in spiritual life. Because what is surrender? I was asking somebody, why did you make that decision? He said, in my experience, it is good. I said, if you didn't experience that is good, if that is so, then why do you have a guru? Correct? Guru means he is above your experience. That is called accepting a guru. He says, and what is the guru? See, mind has been cheating us. Guru will not cheat me. This faith we should have. Anna? Krishna will not cheat me. Today, all our trust is in the mind. But actually, mind is cheating us. Correct? Just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, how long you will sleep on the lap of the witch Maya? Mind is like the witch now, sucking our blood, sucking our time, sucking our life, wasting our life. True? So we have to lose trust in this mind. My dear mind, get lost. Usrijya etan, sampratam labdha buddhi. Now I become intelligent. My mind, I know this is what you did. You cheated me all my life. Now I'm not going to listen to you. Yadupate, oh Krishna. Kamadinam katina katita palita durunidesha tesham ajatamaina karunanatapna upshanti usrijya etan yadupate tvam ayataha. My Lord, I am coming at your shelter. Mam niyungsha, give me shelter, give me engagement at your lotus feet. Therefore, instead of engaging ourselves in the hallucinations of enjoyment of the mind, let us engage ourselves in service to Krishna. In the beginning, it is not very pleasing, but then it's what is recommended, which will make us happy. So this is what we can talk about subtle ether. This is all I know. There are devotees. Maybe if opportunity comes, I'll invite them. They are our called BI, Bhaktivedanta Institute. Prabhupada says scientific research. They meditate on all these shlokas. They can speak very detailed, explaining what is known as Bhagavad Sankhya. But I don't know. What I know little about mind, ether, I have shared with you. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, everybody.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna
Dhanyavad
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Dandavat pranam,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you.
Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Dhanyavad Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Pranam.
Hare
Prabhuji,
Krishna.
Dandavat Pranam. Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandot Pranam.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.